Yo, guys, what is good? Welcome back on the Uncle Sharma channel. -5 days, guys. -5 to the Champions League final in Istanbul. The hype is starting to build. I'm actually weirdly calm at the moment. I don't know about you guys. The hype is there, but the nervousness is not quite there. I like it. I like it. I've been more nervous for Inter matches than this. Like Empoli last match day of 2018-19 or Lazio 2017-18. Like those games I was more stressed about than this one. Um, yeah, interesting. I don't know how you guys feel, but today it was media day for Inter. Inzaghi, Bastoni, Dimarco, Lautaro, Lukaku, like so many players and coaches today talk. So we're going to go through the interviews today, but the first one I want to talk about is Dimarco, who said, "Our dream, their obsession. Our dream, their obsession." And you know who that shout out was to. You know who he's been listening to. You know which video he's been listening to the last few days. Jose Mourinho.
What I want to say to the players is that we want to follow a dream. Yes, it's true. But one thing is to follow the dream, another thing is to follow an obsession. And this is not an obsession. It's just a dream. We have the dream to play the Champions League final. And
we have the dream to play the Champions League final. That's the words of Jose Mourinho 2010 before the Barcelona game, Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. And the parallels are right there. Pep Guardiola's Man City, it is their obsession to win the Champions League, something that Pep has not been able to do since that Barcelona team. At Bayern Munich, he wasn't able to do it. Since he's been at Man City now, how long has he been there? 6-7 years. He hasn't been able to do it. And he also said after winning the FA Cup against United the other day, they've done the double now. He said, we have to do the treble now. There's no other way. Otherwise, this season will be seen as a failure. We have to complete the treble. So they have the added pressure already of having to win the Champions League under Pep. And then now having to complete this treble. And for us, we've got our Supercoppa, we've got our Coppa Italia, we've got our top four. This is our dream. And that's exactly what Federico Dimarco said. And he also spoke about how, this is a dream of him, not just, the Champions League final, but him just being an Inter player. He said, going to the ending of his interview here, translated by Sempre Inter. All these articles, by the way, available on sempreinter.com. He said, I was crying at the final in Madrid. He said, his favorite moment was, that second Milito goal or seeing Zanetti lift that trophy. Those were his favorite moments. He's like us. This guy is just like us, Dimarco. He's living our dream of wearing that beautiful black and blue shirt. And he spoke about it today. As we know, this guy had big shoes to fill this season, replacing Ivan Perisic, who was the undisputed number one last season. But he's been one of our best, most consistent players for sure. And he says, since I was born, my family has passed on the love for Inter to me. Great people. Your family are great people, Federico. Playing it, I fulfilled a dream. And playing in the Champions League final is not something that happens every day, especially for Inter, who have won it 3 times. Every boy dreams of playing these matches. So great words there by Federico Dimarco. And he was, alongside him was Bastoni, who was also being interviewed in the press conference. And there was one interesting question that caught the attention of the English media, and they've already mistranslated that question. I'll bring it. So they asked him, the actual question was, do you feel like you are a Guardiola style player, or you've been said to be that type of player because of your ball carrying ability, passing ability, etc., etc. And all he said was, yeah, in terms of characteristics, yeah, maybe I do have a bit of Guardiola style. But he said, I feel more Inzaghiano, like, I'm an Inzaghi player. He's basically saying he's loving that limone ball. He's a limone ball enjoyer. He's got the limone ball t-shirt. He's taking those limoncello shots. But I've seen already the Man City English media have mistranslated this, misquoted this to saying that, almost as if they didn't ask him the question first. It was just, yeah, I'm a Guardiola type of player, trying to say, that he's, asking for a move or begging for a move to Man City. Rubbish, absolute rubbish. But I can tell though, Bastoni, even last in the build up to this, you can tell he is a fan of Man City in terms of the way they play, because it makes sense. Bastoni, that left foot of his style of play. He says he does watch a lot of Man City, so there's no surprise there. But he said, I'm happy to be at Inter. Nobody believed in us. I'm not interested in proving anything to anyone apart from the club and my teammates. Beautiful words. And then he was asked about what he took from, we've been in the final. Obviously, it wasn't Champions League final, but we were in a Europa League final against Sevilla. Bastoni replied that us players are all different. I was 20. We all have more experience now, and that makes the difference in Europe. We were kids. Now we're men who know what they want, and we will prove it in Istanbul. What a guy. What a guy. And then he says, you should be afraid of assassins, not of footballers. It's wrong to talk about fear. You need courage. Once again, they asked him, are you afraid of anyone on that team? Haaland, he's like, nah, man. Haaland is a top level player, but they have an infinite number of great players. He said he went there to win the Champions League. Now we'll see how to stop him. I saw a video of him in the semi-final against Real Madrid, who did well to stop him. And I think actually the full quote is that he was watching, the videos of Rudiger. You saw those videos. I don't know if you saw those videos that went viral. Rudiger was putting like his head under Haaland's armpit. He was like doing all sorts of stuff to put him off. I wonder if Acerbi, Bastoni, and Darmian are going to do. Well, Darmian definitely not. But if Bastoni, he's a bit of a cheeky one. I wouldn't put it past him to do stuff like that. It's not Haaland against Inter, but Inter against City. Everyone is, you can tell everyone is focused, just grounded. The answers, the energy, everything is correct. The vibe is positive, but not getting ahead of ourselves, not putting ourselves down too much. I like it. Everything is correct. And even Simone Inzaghi, who he's not. You guys know me if you follow me on this channel. I'm not a fan of his press conferences. He's very bland, very basic in his replies. But today, Inzaghi, I enjoyed it. Today he was answering, with a bit of vim, with a bit of zest in his answers as well. As he has started to be fair, over the last few months or so, since he was, the heavy criticism, he has started to add a bit of spice to his answers. But today he was kind of, fearless in terms of just, he's happy to be here. He said, this is my most important match of my career until now. And obviously the main question we know with Inzaghi was, is it going to be Lukaku or Dzeko? And we get into it as reported here. That was pretty much straight away the first questions. At the moment, it's not possible for me to make these decisions. In the first part of the season, it is possible for me to make these decisions in terms of the rotation. We know that this recently, since Correa and Lukaku and Dzeko and Lautaro all fit, he likes to do that rotation. In the first part of the season, he wasn't able to do it. Top players never accept having a secondary role. There are still 4 training sessions left to go, so he didn't answer. He circumnavigated the answer as he usually does. A coach may have ideas, but then often you start in the evening thinking of one thing, and then when you're warming up in the morning, you decide something different. Lying. We know your rotations are already set in motion. Whether for this match or not, we don't know. But in the league and Champions League till now, we've seen that you don't wake up in the evening and think something else. It's been a long journey, it's going back to the beginning. Long journey, which began on the day of the group stage draw. Not a lucky day for us. We drew Bayern and Barcelona. But with the staff and the team, we said to each other, we could still have a great journey. So these guys have been believing since the beginning, Onana said today that he believed in it from the first day. He's been telling Dumfries, who didn't believe him, that they're going to reach the final. Lukaku talked about it as well, that, he told Steven Zhang that they will reach the final. So there was belief within the Inter team. But he says, he goes back to all the way to last season. We know how much he's obsessed with that Liverpool game. He always went back to it. Like, remember, guys, when they asked him, which game would you replay last season? And instead of going for that Milan game where we lost 2-1 to them, he said, no, I want to replay that Champions League game against Liverpool, which, angered me, infuriated me last year, a lot of Inter fans, but it shows the mentality of this guy that he was looking to the Champions League already last year. In my mind, also the 4 matches against Real Madrid and Liverpool, who were eventually finalists, always stayed in our thoughts. Then they asked him about percentages. I'm not going to give any percentages. We're up against the strongest team in the world. We've won the Premier League 5 times in the last 6 years. We'll have to be careful, play as a team. We know we're up against the very best, fantastic squad. And the coach was marked an error. He was very positive when talking about Guardiola in general. And he also talked about this anecdote about meeting Guardiola. There's this picture out there of him and Guardiola in New York, and he talked about that. It was like on my honeymoon after my wedding in New York 2019. There was a person sitting in the table next to me. It was him, Guardiola. Took a picture, and he talked about his admiration for him. And he said that he kind of predicted that City would beat Real Madrid quite comfortably. And continues to kind of talk about, their brilliance, their technique, physicality, they're complete, a team with very few weak points, but they'll come up against an Inter side who have already proved what we can do along our journey. We'll have to keep them from having too much possession and cover every inch of the pitch. They're a very strong team. And this is why I like this. He fears nothing. Guardiola is the best coach out there. He's marked an error, but I fear nothing, but I have a lot of respect. So, again, I'm happy, very, very happy with his words. Moving on to Romelu Lukaku, who spoke. He said he's feeling a similar vibe to 2010 in terms of the squad spirit. Interesting words. It was an emotional time because we really, as a team, spent so much time together, talking about the title win. At that time, I really spent much more time with my teammates than with my oldest son, playing a game, going back to the hotel, staying in the room, COVID time. Compared to the 2010 treble side, he said it's very similar. And to be honest, the funny thing is a lot of those players from that 2010 band, they come and watch our games and they feel the same thing. That's really nice. On facing Man City, he said it's a beautiful thing, playing probably against the best team in the world. I just want to enjoy it, not having pressure, just enjoying the moment, enjoy the build-up, go there to have the best result possible. And then he was praising Haaland. Said he think he will dominate with Mbappe world football for the next 10 years. They'll be fighting the new generation. I agree with him. And they will take over from Messi, Ronaldo. With Haaland, these movements and the way how they open up defenses, he will get those chances because those movements and patterns that they do, they synchronize very well. And there was also a little snippet that I retweeted on Twitter that he was, in tears. Someone there, the interviewer asked him about, his granddad who passed away, and he kind of started to tear up. He said this is all for him. Everything I do is for him. His number one fan, his granddad. Even he got me teared up a bit. And I've always said, even when he left us, Lukaku, I struggled to dislike him. I just feel like he is a very likable player, persona-wise. Yes, he can be a bit cringy sometimes, a bit cheesy, a bit corny. And obviously loyalty isn't the first thing that you describe Lukaku with, but he's a guy I root for. And I hope he doesn't go into this game, with too much pressure, because we know his big game record over the years isn't the greatest. I hope he does do what he says he's doing, which is just to enjoy it, not having pressure, enjoying the moment, enjoying the build-up, because it does feel like sometimes he crumbles under the pressure maybe. But again, Inter being underdogs in this game probably helps us. And finally, we'll finish it off with, of course, we couldn't avoid Lautaro. Man City difficult to beat, but I hope to lift the Champions League trophy. Of course, this guy is trying to complete football. He's got the World Cup already under his belt, and he wants to complete it with the Champions League. As usual, praising Man City. No doubt that they're one of the best teams in the world. Play a style of football that I really enjoy. They will be tough to opponents to come up against. But we faced tough teams. Actually, one thing Bastoni also said, from going back to facing tough teams, he said the Inter dressing room at one point joked that they wish that the whole of Serie A next season would be just made up of Napoli, because they're just joking how they play better against the bigger teams. But going back to Lautaro's interview, similar to what, in terms of what Lukaku said, we should try and enjoy it, because playing a Champions League final isn't something you do every day. It'll be a dream for all of us. So all that's left to do, work hard as well as we possibly can. And then hopefully the best team wins and lift the trophy. And then goes back to his goals against or his performances against Milan, one of the most important moments of my career, not because of its beauty, but how important it was for the greatness and the story it represented. Scoring a goal is very special, so imagine how special it is during a match like that. Yeah, crazy. And he talks about the Argentina interconnection. From the day I arrived at this club, they made me feel like I was part of a family, like I grew up here. That's important for any player. I knew there have been a lot of Argentines here, like Milito, Zanetti, Cambiaso, Samuel, who have done an amazing job at this club. It's a big responsibility to carry this flag. I'm very proud of what I'm achieving here, and I'm constantly say I have to keep fighting to achieve more. And hopefully Lautarito, Lukaku, all these guys achieve more and achieve what we want. -5, guys, as I said. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, what you think of the interviews. I'm getting hyped. I enjoyed all the interviews today. As I said, right mentality, right mindset, but to me, it looks like we're building up to the game in the right way. Mkhitaryan also spoke. He's back in training. Hopefully he'll be able to, I don't think he'll be starting, but I think he'll be able to come on as a substitute maybe. Every little helps. And yeah, that was it for me today, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. See you soon. Videos, content coming up almost every day in the build up to the game. Ciao ragazzi, always Forza Inter. Let's bring that Champions League home.